I just never thought or imagined that I would ever face this situation. It's really not a simple decision, and it's not a decision to be taken lightly at all. It has enormous significance.
יש לה משמעויות עצומות.
Dr. Hagar Mizrahi did not learn this in medical school. To make one of the most shocking decisions of her career, to pronounce death without first seeing a body.
The event is foreign to the world in general, and to the world of medicine in particular, because we have very strict rules on how to determine death. There is a pulse, and an ECG should be done. We still look for all the signs and at all the doubts to resolve them in order to give the family an answer that is clear and unambiguous.
קיבוץ ניר עוז הודיע על הרצחה של ג'ודי ויינשטיין חגי, נרצחה ב7 באוקטובר, יחד עם בעלה גדי חגי. הגופות של שניהם מוחזקות בידי חמאס.
Until the harsh news about Judy were received, she had been thought kidnapped. The last time she made contact was during the morning walk with her husband near Nir Oz. Last week, the family was informed of Gadi's death. Now, it's Judy. One of the open cases that Dr. Mizrahi and the committee of which she is a member for many weeks.
One of the very complex cases. We received a description of the circumstances of the incident, but we also heard the phone call she made to the Magen David Adom hotline.
איפה ירו בך? ביד. בפנים וביד.
קראנו את הוואטסאפים עם חברים.
We read WhatsApp messages with friends and family and watched relevant videos. We understood that there was a very, very serious injury here. We sat more than once to try to understand what happened.
That Black Sabbath raised many dramatic issues, one of which is whether it is possible to declare the death of a hostage while in captivity. Some were murdered and taken to the Gaza Strip. Some were taken there wounded and did not survive the injury. Others were murdered in Gaza. The Ministry of Health has established a committee to assess the situation of the hostages, headed by Dr. Hagar Mizrahi. A committee of experts trying to decide what happened to kidnapped citizens, collecting every scrap of information, watching hours of video.
אנחנו נמצאים בוועדה הזאת בתוקף תפקידנו כרופאים.
We are on this committee by virtue of our position as doctors. We want evidence whose essence is a medical basis. It's not just watching videos. It's literally sitting and analyze and looking for breathing movements. You look for movements of the eyelids, movements of the body, a reaction to pain, simply analyzing the movies frame by frame. We also deal mainly with analyzing gunshot wounds, where they hit, where organs were hit, and everything, together with the fact that there is no medical treatment, leads us to our conclusions.
This is how they came to determine that Aviv Atzili, Ofra Kedar, and Inbar Haiman were murdered. Unlike legal matters where reasonable doubt is enough, here the three doctors on the committee, Dr. Mizrahi, Dr. Kugel, and Dr. Marin, CEO of Shaare Tzedek Hospital, need to be completely convinced before they tell the families.
We sit, and if we don't come to a conclusion, then we say we haven't yet decided. Additional material will arrive. Hamas will release something. Some additional information will be received. We will incorporate the new bits and watch one more time from beginning to end, and then we will make a decision. Each decision is made unanimously.
How much certainty do you need to determine? Is 99% enough?
We wait and check the points until we are all convinced. For me, it is 100%.
100%.
As far as I'm concerned,
Not knowing is the worst thing. I can't stay up in the air. I need to know.
Danny Engel was informed that his brother Ronen was kidnapped with his family from their home in Nir Oz, but his gut feeling said he was probably killed. After all, Ronen was armed, fighting the terrorists who entered the apartment, and no one has seen him since.
It was very alarming. Me too, in this whole situation, I hung on to some kind of optimism and forced myself not to eulogize him or to talk about him in the past tense. So not to create, this situation that there is no Ronen.
זו קרינה אנגלברט, גם היא משוחררת היום, יחד עם שתי בנותיה, מיקה, בת 17, ויובל, בת 11.
4 days after his wife and daughters returned from captivity, The news was received. Ronen was murdered and the body was snatched.
The death was determined according to a video and other findings that were in the house. Karina said that there was a large pool of blood where Ronen was standing. Other people who returned said that they saw his body being dragged outside, out of the house. I have this kind of closure, they told me, and beyond any doubt, Ronen is gone. It's the better option than not knowing and continuing to hope.
מעל כל ספק, רונן איננו, זה האופציה העדיפה מאשר לא לדעת ולהמשיך לקוות.
The message the Iluz family received about the death of Guy, the 26-year-old musician who was at the party in Reim, was a little different. In his case, there was no video, only the knowledge that he was injured and kidnapped. But about a month ago, they were informed that Maya Regev, who returned from captivity, gave detailed testimony about their son.
I asked them, tell me, are you really serious? You want me to state as an axiom that my son died in light of the fact that she was a prisoner who was in the room with Guy, that she saw him through the curtain, and she was full of drugs, and I have no idea what, and in light of all the psychological warfare they are doing. Listen, I'm not ready to accept it, but I would love to meet with Maya Regev.
אבל נשמח להיפגש עם מאיה רגב.
ניסו לעשות לו באמת החייאה
They really tried to give him CPR, and he died from his wounds. And at first, I refused to believe it. And after they took him, I said that I had to see that it was really him. I have this duty to go and talk to his family. In the end, I'm the only person who knows what really happened. So I moved the curtain and saw that he really wasn't with us, that he was gone.
After the parents heard Maya, the subtleties, the details, how she described how they put him in a white bag for the dead, they were convinced. They sat Shiva and said goodbye to their boy.
Saying goodbye it's hard to bear. It's not goodbye when you can say I'm saying goodbye because I saw that he died. We didn't see that Guy is indeed no longer with us. We separated from him based on testimony, based on information.
The returning hostages brought with them a lot of new information to the committee about the fate and condition of those who were left behind. But they say they are not satisfied with this evidence as a sole parameter.
For example, we knew that someone had been shot, and we saw the type of injury, and we understood that in this condition, he was taken to the Gaza Strip. And in this condition, we know that in order to treat the gunshot, we need very intensive, very advanced treatment, if at all, and over time and on and on. It's a culmination of things, especially if one of the abductees later states that he has passed away.
As long as this body does not arrive in Israel, it's not doubt. Really, it's not a question of doubt. He won't be knocking on the door tomorrow and entering the house. But for me, the story hasn't ended.
The bodies of the hostages who did return to Israel were thoroughly examined by Dr. Mizrahi's committee to confirm the circumstances of their death.
The CT scan shows us whether there are bullets, whether there are clots. So far, bodies have arrived, and apparently Hamas said they were killed because of an IDF attack. This is not true. These are not the conclusions. It is difficult in some cases to determine the exact cause of death, but it does not appear that people were injured, and the injuries match injuries from shelling.
The committee deals not only with the dead, but also with those who return alive from captivity. As a doctor, Hagar Mizrahi also tries to understand something about the medical treatment they received. To her surprise, she discovered that they were not given only prescription drugs, but also dangerous ones.
Apparently, they were given treatment not exactly known in Israel, which, among other things, causes some kind of sedation. There was also ketamine in some of the cases. Ketamine is a drug that is given under anesthesia for surgery, and today it is a drug that is used, of course, illegally. And indeed, there was testimony of people who came, who received ketamine unnecessarily as a form of sedation. I'm not sure you want to emerge from captivity as a drug addict. There was a prior claim that the terrorists had been given drugs before. I don't have any proof of this, but I can tell you honestly, I can't understand, from what I've seen, how they did it without it. I say they are not animals because it is unimaginable.
איך הם עשו את זה בלי זה? הוא אומר,